For the entire season, Ben Simmons has been one of the most talked about trade components. This past week, those reports have expanded to include Tobias Harris as another player the Philadelphia 76ers may be looking to part ways with. They'd like to bundle him with Simmons in a massive blockbuster trade. Tobias Harris signed a big contract 3 seasons ago and has watched his numbers plummet since then. He's averaging 18.4 points, 7.5 rebounds, and just 3.9 assists per game this season, with shooting splits of 4.55, 2.95, and 8.56. He has already demonstrated that he is capable of far more than he is now demonstrating, but his time in Philly may be coming to an end. So let's take a look at some blockbuster trades for Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. Here we go. As a result of the growth of Ben Simmons' trade ideas, every deal proposed today will find Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris in different area codes. All of them will be 3-team transactions, as convincing one team to take on roughly $70 million in annual wages is reasonably difficult. Due to the complexities of these transactions, draft capital will not be covered, even though some will most certainly be transferred. So let's look at trade number 1. The Hawks would get Dwight Powell, Ben Simmons, and Shake Milton. The Sixers would get Daniel Gallinari, Tim Hardaway Jr., John Collins, and Cam Reddish, and the Mavericks would get Tobias Harris and Paul Reed. The quantity of theoretical shooting added by the Sixers in this deal is astonishing, providing them with the kind of depth they require to be a legitimate title contender. In addition to everything else he brings to the table, John Collins is an all-star caliber player who has hit at least 30% of his three-point attempts per game for 3 consecutive years. Danilo Gallinari has regressed in many aspects, yet from a distance he is still lights out. Prior to this year, Hardaway had shot 39% from beyond the arc in 3 consecutive seasons. Cam Reddish is shooting a career-high 37.9% from the field this season as well. As expensive as this will be for the Hawks, they will acquire Ben Simmons, and for several reasons, his offensive fit alongside Trae Young and Clint Capella is tricky. The point of attack defense, on the other hand, is more than worth it for them to bring him in and figure out the rest afterward. Shake Milton is a solid bench player to add, and Powell completes the budgetary needs. Next up, trade number 2. The Hawks get Ben Simmons, the Sixers get D'Angelo Russell, Cam Reddish, and John Collins, and the Timberwolves get Tobias Harris. Russell has been mentioned as someone the Sixers have been interested in bringing in on occasion, and his defensive improvement this season should not change that. He's a great passer and scorer who would fit in well in Philly, allowing them to vary their offensive game plan even more. To be clear, unless the Minnesota Timberwolves receive draft compensation, this deal does not make any sense for them. Russell has been an important part of their improvement this season, and losing him would be detrimental to their chances in the stretch run. This is the most difficult deal to defend if a team's only concern is making the playoffs this season. However, with the correct number of picks and a little luck in the buyout market, the Timberwolves could benefit in the long run, adding draft assets that will allow them to keep building around Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. They have a 5-game lead over the current 11 seed and are firmly in the play-in race. Perhaps it is worthwhile to take the long perspective. Next up, trade number 3. The final transaction between the Atlanta Hawks and the Philadelphia 76ers results in the Hawks acquiring both Ben Simmons and Paul Reed. The Utah Jazz step in, bringing in Tobias Harris to reorganize the roster after their offseason experiment with small ball options did not go as planned. Charles Bassey completes the contract and is a promising young player. The Jazz would get Tobias Harris and Charles Bassey. The Sixers would get Rudy Gay, Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Ingles, John Collins, or Cam Reddish. The Hawks would get Ben Simmons and Paul Reed. Similarly to deal number 1, the Sixers gain a fully stocked bench as well as shooting expertise. Both Collins and Reddish have previously been considered, but the fit appears much better now that both Utah shooters have come through. Bojan Bogdanovic has shot at least 39% on at least 4.4 shots per game in each of his last 6 seasons. Joe Ingles is an expiring contract who has dropped significantly this season after being in competition for 6th Man of the Year just a season ago. He would offer a degree of leadership and emotion to the team that would complement it well. Rudy Gay is the final payroll filler included in this transaction, and while he has not had the season he has hoped for, coming off the bench in Philadelphia this season, he may be able to kickstart his production back up again.
Joe Ingles within the Quinn Snyder scheme. Joe is absolutely never the fastest, biggest, or most athletic guy when he steps on the NBA floor, but he succeeds by leveraging every little advantage Quinn's setup affords him, and there's no better example than his now famous pass fake for a layup. If you've been a Jazz fan for a while, you're quite familiar by now with the Ingles pass fake. He's been running it for years and continues to do so even as it's become a primary item on his scouting report for opponents. And actually, when you dig in, Joe's remarkable success with this template reveals a lot about his overall play style and value to the Jazz.
Well guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to Sports Swirl, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, see you guys next time.